Hey math kids, today we're going to talk about exponential functions, and yeah, so we're just going to jump right in. They want us to sketch the graph of y equals 2 to the negative x minus 3. You want to get really comfortable with what an exponential function looks like. So if we just have something like 2 to the x or 3 to the x or 4 to the x, any of these, they actually look pretty similar to each other. And in a general sense, we can think of them as the same, like if we're trying to sketch a graph. Okay, so they're all going to look like this, and they all cross at, they all have a y-intercept of 1. And the reason why, if we plug in a 0, these all go to 1. So 2 to the 0 is 1, 3 to the 0 is 1, 4 to the 0 is 1. So all are going to cross right there. So we want to start right there when we're trying to sketch. Now, we want to think of our transformations. And if you remember, if we put a negative on the inside of a function or on the x, what it does is it flips it across the x-axis. And so right there, if all I do is apply that piece, it's still going to cross at 1, but now it's going to reflect across the x-axis. Now, the negative 3, what that's going to do is it's going to shift it down 3. So right now we have a horizontal asymptote on the x-axis. So that's at 0. And so we're going to move that down by 3. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3. So our new horizontal asymptote is going to be down at negative 3. Now, our y-intercept is at 1, and if we move that down by 3, we go 1, 2, 3. So that's now right here. And so we end up with a function that looks kind of like that. Okay. Now it wants us to state the domain and range of the blue function, because the blue function is this thing. And so the domain, we see it's going to go all the way to the left, and it's going to go all the way to the right. So our domain, if we write it in our set notation, is going to be all real numbers and look like that. Now our range is a little bit different, because our range goes all the way down infinitely close to this negative 3, but it never gets there. And so we have all the values, and this will go all the way up. So it goes from negative 3 all the way up. And so the easiest way to say that is x is greater than negative 3. And then we just put it in our set brackets. Now it's greater than, not greater than or equal to, because we will never actually get to negative 3. We just get infinitely close to negative 3. And that's our domain and range for that one. All right. Now, this next one, we have 3 to the x equals 7. And it says use technology to solve the equation. I'll use a AA2. You use whatever calculator you have. Now, the easiest way to solve any equation using graphing is just graph both sides of the equation. So I have 3 to the x right there, and then I'm just going to graph 7. So we graph it, draws the exponential, and it should just draw a line, yep. And so wherever they cross right there, that's the answer. So I'm going to go second calc, and I want to know their intersection. It just has, since there's only 2 curves, you just go first curve, click, second curve, click, and then you guess. Thinks for a second, and then we see the x value is 1.77. And so the x value is approximately 1.77. Okay, if you need additional help, please come to Math Lab. Until then, calculator.